You open your eyes to the soft cawing of crows and the distant clang of a bell. The air smells like smoke and damp hay and something else, less pleasant. There's no mattress under your back, just a scratchy pile of straw that rustles every time you breathe. You blink, trying to sit up, and feel your body protest as if you've slept curled into a knot. Your neck is stiff, your legs are cold, and your feet are bare. Outside light filters in through the cracks of wooden planks. There's no glass on the window, just a flap of cloth that barely keeps the wind out. It's chilly, and your breath makes little clouds in the morning air. You try to reach for your phone out of habit, but there's no pocket, no nightstand, no charger. You're wearing something rough. A tunic, maybe. Wool, it itches. You stand up wobbly and step onto the dirt floor. There's no bathroom, no toilet, just a bucket in the corner. You're still not sure whether this is a dream. Maybe you had too much cheese last night. Maybe you fell asleep watching a documentary. But then you hear it. A rooster, loud and angry, just outside your wall. It crows once, then again. It is without doubt real. You peer through the flap. The sun is rising behind thick fog. Smoke curls out of chimneys, well, not quite chimneys, more like holes in thatched rooftops. You see people walking past in cloaks and hoods, a child carrying a bucket of water, a man leading a pig on a rope. Welcome to the year 1327. You step outside and immediately feel the mud between your toes. Cold and wet. There's no pavement, no sidewalk, just dirt. The kind of dirt that sucks at your heel like it doesn't want to let go. You look around hoping to find something familiar, but there are no signs, no streetlights, no cars, just low stone cottages and the thick, earthy smell of animals. A woman walks by and glances at you. You try to smile, maybe ask a question, but she mutters something in a language that sounds like English, but isn't. Not quite. You realize it's Middle English, and suddenly the textbooks from school feel very far away. Your stomach growls. You haven't eaten. But there's no cafe. No 7-Eleven. Only a wooden table under a canopy where a man is slicing something that looks like bread, but has the texture of a rock. He sees you staring and frowns. You take a step back and try to think. You're in medieval Europe. Somehow. A small village. You have no money, no knowledge of local customs, and very likely no rights. In fact, you're already behind. Everyone here woke up at dawn. They've fed their goats, carried water, stoked fires, and some have walked miles before the sun even broke through the mist. And you just got here, and you're already tired. You turn around hoping to find shelter, but even your little hut feels unfamiliar. There's no lock on the door, no warmth inside. You sit on the straw again, hugging your knees, trying to make sense of it all. You remember something about a dream or a portal, or did someone cast a spell? None of it matters now. All you know is that every breath of this world is real. The scratch in your throat, from smoke. The ache in your spine, from the straw. The stinging cold in your toes. You lay back and stare at the wooden ceiling. There's a cobweb in the corner. A spider moves slowly as if waking with you. For a moment there's peace. A strange quiet broken only by the sound of the world moving outside. And in that moment it begins to dawn on you. You're not prepared for this world, but it doesn't care. The bell rings again in the distance. Time to begin your first real day in the Middle Ages. You open your eyes again this time, not to the crow of a rooster, but to the shiver that runs down your spine. The straw mattress hasn't gotten any softer. Your back is stiff, and your throat feels dry, scratchy even. Outside, the light has grown stronger, but not warmer. The sky is gray, the kind of gray that promises drizzle all day. Your feet touch the floor, and the cold greets you like an old enemy. There are no socks, no slippers. The earth is cold, damp, and unwelcoming. You step outside, clutching your scratchy wool tunic close, and the wind instantly slips through every loose thread, as if it's eager to find skin. It's time to face the day. The villagers are already at work. Of course they are. You see a boy no older than 10, chopping wood with practiced rhythm. A girl your age, or perhaps younger, pours cloudy water into a trough for pigs. She looks up and gives you a nod that's neither friendly nor cold. Just matter of fact. Everyone here has a job, a purpose, and 1,000 chores that will never quite be finished. You don't even know where to begin. Walks by hauling a bundle of firewood on his back. You step aside your foot, landing in a puddle of mud, deep, sticky, and frigid. The cold soaks through your toes immediately. You try to wipe it off, but your hands are already half numb. You wander toward the well where a line has formed. People fill buckets, whispering under their breath. No one smiles. Water isn't just a drink here, it's life. But it's also a threat. It comes from a well that may or may not be clean. And you remember that in this time, people don't really trust water. Beer and ale are safer. You swallow, and your throat protests again. You try to speak to ask someone what you should be doing, but your voice cracks. It's dry hoarse. You cough, and the old woman near you backs away slightly. Everyone here, though, knows a cough can mean something dangerous. A cold is not a small thing. A sore throat can lead to a fever. A fever can mean the end. And then breakfast. You follow your nose not to something delicious, but something vaguely edible. A hut smells of smoke and something baking, if you can call it that. A woman offers a crust of bread, and you accept it without thinking. It's hard, dense, dark with grains and strange textures. It takes effort to chew, and it scrapes against your sore throat. There's no butter, no jam, just bread. Someone hands you a mug of something warm. It's thin, pale, and steaming. You sip. It tastes like barley water, barely flavored, barely comforting. But it's warm, and for a moment you feel human again. You sit on a wooden bench, sharing space with a chicken. It hops near your feet, pecking at crumbs. A cat passes by with a limp. No one rushes. There's no clock to beat. Just the endless, slow march of tasks that begin at dawn and end when the sun goes down. You cough again. Your chest feels tight. It might be the smoke from the hearth, or it might be something else. There's no way to know. No thermometer. No nurse. Just your body and the chill. You notice your fingernails are already dirty. You've barely touched anything. The dirt is everywhere in the food, in the air, under your clothes. Cleanliness is not a value here. It's a luxury. And you don't feel very lucky. A boy nearby sneezes into his sleeve. No one flinches. Illness is so common, so constant, that people forget to fear it until it's too late. You wipe your nose on your arm and realize you've already begun to change. A little. Just a little. You're adapting in the way a fish might adapt to a tank too small. You're surviving, sort of, but you're also fading. You look to the sky. The clouds haven't moved. The village smells of ash and mud and animals. Your breath still curls in the cold. And it's only 7 a.m. By now, your body is giving you signals you can't ignore. That barley drink from breakfast, the chill in the air, and perhaps just nerves. It's time. Nature calls. But unlike the cozy privacy of a modern restroom, there is no porcelain sanctuary waiting for you here. No flush. No toilet paper. No lock on the door. You glance around the muddy square of the village, hoping wildly that maybe somehow medieval folk had stumbled upon the idea of indoor plumbing. They had not. You shuffle awkwardly past a goat, a woman churning something in a wooden barrel, and a man fixing a wheel with a mallet. You don't want to ask. You don't even know how. But your face must be saying enough, because an old man squinting at you with one eye clouded by age points with a gnarled finger toward a small wooden shack behind a barn. The structure looks fragile. A crooked little hut made of mismatched boards with smoke-colored moss clinging to one side, and a door that hangs open on a broken hinge. You step closer and catch the scent. Oh no. It's not the smell that turns your stomach. It's the reality of what you're about to experience. Inside, there's a bench, just a slab of wood with a hole in it. Beneath that hole, darkness, and unfortunately sound. Sloshing, crawling, a thick stench of waste that clings to your nostrils. There's no candle, no window. Just you and your thoughts. You hesitate. You really do. But there's no alternative. You can't hold it forever. You step inside, and the rickety door creaks closed behind you, not quite shutting. You perch over the opening like a bird on a branch, praying for balance, praying for speed, praying that nothing living is down there. There's no toilet paper. Of course not. You reach for the options available: hay, leaves, possibly a scrap of wool someone abandoned. Your dignity packs up and leaves without saying goodbye. You finish quickly and exit face pale and heart racing. But it's not over. The stench has clung to your tunic. And what's worse, you've been told you must empty the privy bucket back at the hut where you woke up, because that's your chore for today. And now you understand, waste doesn't just disappear here. There's no sewer system beneath the cobblestones, no sanitation crews in neon vests, no pipework humming invisibly beneath the floor. Human waste must be carried out, dumped into a trench, or if you're unfortunate, down a street-side gutter that flows through town. You stagger toward the back of your hut. There it is, the night bucket. It's not light. You lift it carefully, the weight threatening to slosh over with every trembling step. The contents. Move. You don't think. You don't breathe. You just walk. Out past the goat pen, toward a small ditch that runs beside the village's narrow road. You pour. The smell follows you like a curse. As you return, head down, ashamed and exhausted, a young girl passes by, carrying flowers, and makes a face. "Should have gone in the woods," she mumbles in a thick accent, laughing under her breath. She's 7. She's tougher than you. Back in your hut, you wipe your hands on your tunic before realizing that does nothing. There's no soap, no running water. You look at your hands and sigh. You would trade a kingdom for a single wet wipe. You sit back on the straw, feeling the dirt soak into your skin and soul. You're learning. Slowly, painfully. But you're beginning to understand that in this world, nothing is private, nothing is comfortable, and nothing is easy. And it's still morning. After your humiliating encounter with the village toilet situation, You decide it's time to do something productive, something that restores your sense of purpose. You stand brush hay from your tunic and step outside with a spark of determination. You're going to find a job. You imagine yourself as a knight. Why not? You've seen movies. You know how to hold a sword, at least in theory. You've watched every medieval drama Netflix could offer. How hard can it be? You approach a man sharpening a blade on a whetstone beside a wagon. His arms are thicker than your legs. He looks up at you and grunts. You clear your throat and ask in your best attempt at friendliness. "Do you need help?" He laughs. "Not with you at you. You a blacksmith's boy?" he asks. You shake your head. Your father in the guild? You shake again. Ever swung a hammer? You pause. Once, at IKEA furniture. The man stares confused. He spits into the dirt and waves you off like a dog sniffing too close to stew. "Go shovel dung with the boys," he mutters. You try again at the stables, the bakery, the tanner's shop. Same story everywhere. No apprenticeship, no family name, no hands like tree bark, no job. You begin to realize something about this world. Everything is inherited. Skills, status, tools, even permission to work. You can't just show up and start. You're not from here. You're not of here. You're just an odd stranger with soft hands and wide eyes. Eventually, someone takes pity. A woman with soot on her cheeks and a laugh that rattles the windows says, "You can carry dung from the animal pens. No training needed. Just don't faint." And so before you know it, you're knee-deep in the warm, squelching reality of livestock. You discover that medieval cows are not gentle, and pigs are far more clever and more aggressive than cartoons have led you to believe. One of them chases you for 5 full minutes after you stepped too close to its food trough. You slip, you fall, more than once. A boy no older than 12 shows you how to scoop dung properly. You nod, grateful, and try not to cry. At midday, you're allowed to rest. Your back aches from lifting. Your arms feel like noodles. Your tunic smells like something that would get you kicked off a modern train. You sit near the stables and watch a real knight ride by. He's tall, broad-shouldered, shining in polished armor that must weigh more than your dignity. Children bow. Women wave. A banner flutters behind him. You straighten your spine just a bit, wondering, could you still try? But then the wind shifts and you smell yourself again. You glance at your blistered hands and mud-covered boots. You sigh. No, you can't be a knight. Not today. Maybe not ever to. Someone hands you a crust of bread and a small bowl of something resembling stew. You don't ask what's in it. You eat. Chewing slowly, feeling the warmth seep back into your limbs. You've survived the morning. You've shoveled things you'd never speak of again. You've failed to impress a single soul. But you've earned one thing, a moment of silence. The sky is still gray. The smell of the stables lingers in your clothes. Somewhere a rooster crows again, late, confused, and annoyingly proud. And you think maybe being unemployed wasn't that bad after all. The bells chime again in the village square, a long, hollow ring that echoes through muddy lanes and crumbling cottages. It's not the kind of bell that makes you feel welcome. It doesn't call you to lunch so much as warn you that you've survived the morning, and now you must earn the rest of the day. You sit on a wooden bench near the well, your back sore from shoveling, your knees stiff from crouching, your soul a little bruised, but your stomach growls with a force stronger than pain. You are ready to eat. You remember lunch. As it used to be a warm sandwich, a cozy bowl of soup, or maybe something with avocado. But today, someone hands you a bundle wrapped in cloth. No plate, no fork, no apology. Inside a chunk of bread, dense, dark. You knock it gently with your knuckles, it echoes. Medieval bread is not light and fluffy. It is a weapon disguised as food. Made of coarse rye or barley, filled with bits of husk, it's the kind of thing your teeth must earn the right to chew. You take a bite. It crumbles, then refuses to go down easily. There's also an onion raw, whole, as if it were a fruit. You stare at it. It stares back. No salt, no oil. Just onion. You decide to wait a little on that one. And then cheese. You smile. Finally, something familiar. But as soon as you bring it close, your optimism wilts. It smells like damp shoes and regret. It's crumbly and pale, perhaps from goat's milk, or something less specific. Still you nibble. It's strong, salty, slightly sour, possibly alive. Your body, desperate for calories, stops asking questions. Around you, people chew in silence. No one complains. No one fusses. A man wipes his mouth on his sleeve. A woman feeds crumbs to a child with hair full of straw. The air smells of smoke and onions and sweat. This is the communal pause, the only real break anyone gets. You try the onion. It's sharp, fiery. You blink tears from your eyes. A boy nearby chuckles. It clears the head, he says, before chomping into his own like it's an apple. His teeth are few, but determined. You try to remember when food became flavorless, when taste became survival. There is no menu here, no options, no dessert, just what the earth gives or what the livestock allows. A chicken pecks near your feet, eyeing your bread. You hold it tighter. As you chew, you hear the talk around you, whispers of a sick cow. News of the baker's third daughter marrying, and a tale about someone who ate bad rye last week and started seeing spirits. You glance at your bread. Suddenly it tastes even stranger. Water is passed around, lukewarm metallic stored in wooden cups. You sip slowly, praying it's clean. You remember that even a drop of dirty water could lead to days of agony. And here, medicine is mostly guesswork and superstition. You look up at the sky. It's still gray. The air is damp. Someone sneezes. No one says bless you. You wipe your mouth with the cloth your bread came in. Fold it slowly and tuck it away, like it matters. The meal ends not with satisfaction, but with silence. Just enough food to keep moving. Just enough to keep surviving. Someone taps your shoulder. Back to it. You stand groaning softly. Your belly is not full, but no longer hollow. That here is considered luxury. You glance down at your hands, rougher now. The dirt doesn't leave. It simply becomes a part of you. You take a breath, filling your lungs with smoke and earth and onion. Time to face the afternoon. The afternoon sun, faint and watery, peeks through the clouds for the first time today. It gives the village a golden gray tint, like an old photograph. You stretch your backbones, cracking softly, and try to shift the scratchy collar of your tunic for the 10th time. But it doesn't help. Because here's the truth, everything itches. You look down at yourself. What you're wearing barely qualifies as clothing. By modern standards, just a long, brownish tunic made of thick homespun wool. Not the soft, cozy kind you'd find in a winter boutique. No. This is pre-industrial wool, rough unwashed, spun by hand with the personality of a cactus. The fibers dig into your skin like tiny thorns. Every step, every movement rubs the same spots over and over your shoulders, your waist behind your knees. You're beginning to understand why medieval people rarely smiled in portraits. Beneath the tunic, there's a coarse linen underlayer. It's meant to keep the wool off your skin, but it only half succeeds. The linen itself feels like sandpaper that's been soaked and dried a dozen times. You scratch your forearm and realize the red mark from earlier is now spreading. You might be allergic, or maybe you're just soft. No one else seems to notice. Children run barefoot through mud puddles. Women haul buckets with cloth wrapped tightly around their waists. A man adjusts his wool hood, leaving behind a patch of flattened, sweaty hair. Fashion here is about function, not flair. You've seen no bright colors, no clean lines. Everything is brown-gray, or the faint yellow of old oats. Clothes are patched, mended, passed down, reused, and remade into something else when too torn to wear. You remember a woman earlier, wearing a dress that looked like it had once been a curtain or a sack. She wore it proudly, tied with a belt made from braided rope. That belt had more character than your entire wardrobe. You try adjusting the belt around your own tunic. It's made of twisted leather, stiff and unforgiving. When you pull it tighter, it digs into your waist. When you loosen it, your tunic flaps around in the wind like a ship's sail. There is no winning here. And then there are the shoes, or what passes for shoes. Leather soles, hand-stitched, more like foot-shaped bags than proper footwear. They're thin, slippery, and do absolutely nothing to protect you from rocks, cold, or goat droppings. You long for socks. You whisper their name like a forgotten spell's ox. The wind picks up. You pull your cloak closer. It's made of the same wool, only heavier. It smells faintly of sheep and rain. You're fairly certain this cloak has never seen soap. Ever. A young woman walks by with a basket of apples, her hair covered by a linen coif. She nods at you, and you realize something. Everyone here is dressed exactly the same. Not because it's a uniform, but because choices don't exist. Your wealth determines your cloth. Your cloth determines your comfort. And you are neither wealthy nor comfortable. You think of modern fabrics, cotton fleece, silk, moisture-wicking shirts, zippers, pajamas. The memory feels like something from a former life. A small girl, barefoot and cheerful, runs past her cloak, flapping behind her like wings. She waves. You wave back with your red, scratched hand. She doesn't seem to notice. Maybe they're just tougher than you. Or maybe they've stopped noticing the discomfort long ago. You pull your hood up. It doesn't help. It's heavy. It smells like the barn. But at least it blocks the wind. Slightly, you sigh. And scratch again. Welcome to medieval fashion. It's not about looking good. It's about surviving the draft. The sun vanishes long before you expect it to. There's no slow, cinematic sunset. No golden hour glow. Just a sudden shift, the gray sky dims into ash, and then into shadow. In the blink of an eye, the village is wrapped in dusk. You sit outside your hut, wrapped in your itchy cloak, watching the world quietly disappear. There are no streetlights, no glow from windows, no buzzing of fluorescent life. The only light comes from flickering candles in the homes of those who can afford them, and most cannot. A woman passes with a lantern, its soft flame barely reaching the ground. Her face is a ghost behind its glow. She doesn't speak. No one does now. Voices drop with the sun. Everything becomes quieter. Not peaceful, just cautious. You head back inside your hut. It's darker than you expected. You search for a candle, but find only a stub, half melted and nearly spent. You light it using a flint someone gave you earlier. The spark crackles, and for a moment, you're proud of yourself. Then the wind slips through the walls and snuffs it out. Darkness returns. Not the cozy kind you know. Not the kind where you can still see the glow from a laptop screen or the outline of the ceiling fan. No. This is ancient darkness, thick, full, and complete. It has a presence. You sit in it eyes wide open and see nothing. Your ears become sharper. You hear the scuttle of something small across the straw. A creak of wood that might be the roof settling or something walking on it. A distant howl. A baby crying. Somewhere, a dog barking madly into the void. There's no switch to flip. No flashlight to grab. No phone to illuminate your palm like a tiny sun. You try lying down on the straw mattress again, but it's harder now. The darkness feels deeper when you're horizontal. You don't know what's crawling near your feet. You don't want to know. You pull the scratchy blanket over yourself. It's not warm, just heavier than air. You hug it like a lifeline. Outside the village quiets even more. The noises become too few. And that's when your mind begins its tricks. You think you hear breathing that isn't yours. A creak of footsteps on old wood. Something brushing against the outer wall. You whisper to yourself. Just nonsense. Anything to fill the space. Your own voice is a comfort. A reminder that you are still here. You remember something now. People in the Middle Ages feared the dark. Not just in the way children do, but deeply. The dark was when evil moved, when spirits wandered, when crimes were committed, when wolves came closer. The word night didn't mean sleep. It meant survival until light. They prayed at sundown. You understand why now. Eventually, your eyes adjust, but not enough to help. You see shadows within shadows. You blink and think you see movement. You close your eyes again, hoping sleep will come and rescue you. It doesn't. Not yet. You begin to understand something uncomfortable. People didn't sleep like us. Not through the whole night. They often had first sleep and second sleep, a strange, broken rhythm. They would wake in the middle of the night, tend the fire, whisper stories, or pray against what might be outside. You imagine yourself in that ancient rhythm, sleeping lightly, restlessly, listening to the silence as if it were a predator, and now you lie still, wrapped in straw in darkness, in the century that forgot comfort. Eventually, your breathing slows. Your heart stops racing. The straw no longer pokes so much. The wind becomes a rhythm, almost like a lullaby. And the silence, thick as it is, starts to feel like a blanket of its own. You are still here, still safe. Or at least not yet unsafe. Sleep comes in fragments, the kind that tiptoe, because in the Middle Ages, even rest was never guaranteed. You wake to the sound of your own cough. It scrapes its way up your throat like sandpaper, dry and sharp. You sit up groggy, blinking through the dim gray of dawn. Your nose is stuffy. Your chest feels heavy. And your body aches in that unmistakable way, like it's trying to fight something off and not doing a very good job of it. You're getting sick. And this is the worst possible century for that to happen. There is no tea waiting for you, no medicine cabinet, no pharmacy down the street. Just cold air, wet straw, and the faint feeling that you may have made a terrible mistake simply by breathing yesterday. You shuffle outside, cloak wrapped around your shivering frame. The air bites your skin. The village is all ready-moving people with baskets and buckets and arms full of wood. but they give you a wide berth. A cough in this world is not just a cough. It could be something worse. And they've all seen what worse looks like. You try to speak to ask for water, but your voice comes out in a croak. Someone tosses you a glance unreadable. A woman mutters a prayer under her breath and pulls her child closer. You head toward the well. The water is ice cold. You drink a few sips and it hurts going down. Your teeth ache. You feel a shiver you can't shake off. You ask quietly if there's someone who can help. A healer, perhaps. They nod toward an old woman near the edge of the village, hunched and wrapped in a dozen layers of cloth. Her fingers are stained from herbs and smoke. Her eyes are sharp, too sharp for comfort. You approach sniffing, coughing, trying to look less ill than you are. She places a wrinkled hand on your forehead and mutters something in Latin, or maybe just very old English. She smells like damp leaves and ash. You're cold inside. She says. You nod. That seems accurate. She gives you a bitter mixture made from boiled bark, dried flowers, and something you don't recognize. It tastes like regret. Then she ties a sachet of herbs to your neck with a string to keep the bad air away. You thank her. She doesn't smile, because she knows, everyone knows, if your body doesn't fight it off on its own. There's nothing more she can do. No antibiotics, no anti-inflammatories, no way to Google symptoms and panic responsibly. Just fire, rest, and prayer. You return to your hut, curl back into your straw pile, and try to stay warm. The draft from the walls is relentless. You cough again, deep and wet this time. It echoes in your chest like a warning bell. You close your eyes and think of fevers, of how in your time they're annoying. Here they're dangerous. A simple infection could mean death in days. A sore throat could become swollen airways. A scratch could turn into a limb lost to rot. You're reminded of how many people in this world never reach adulthood. How many mothers die in childbirth. How many children are buried before they learn to read. You feel the weight of that knowledge in your bones alongside the cold. Time moves slowly. You drift in and out of sleep, each cough jostling you awake. Someone leaves a bowl of broth by your door. It's thin but warm. You drink it with shaking hands. And still the village goes on. No one stops for you. No one nurses you. Because here, everyone is tired. Everyone is sick. Everyone is already caring for someone else. You are one of many, and this illness is not the worst they've seen. As the light fades again, you curl deeper into your cloak, whispering to yourself in the dark. A modern lullaby. A memory of safety. Because here in the year 1327, even being sick is something you do alone. And if you recover, it will not be because of medicine. It will be because your body was lucky. And luck, like everything else in this world, is in short supply. It starts as a dull ache, just a little throb behind your back molar. You ignore it at first, curled up in your straw bed. Your body's still recovering from yesterday's chills. But by mid-morning, the ache has bloomed into something larger, something pulsing. By noon, it feels like your skull is trying to push that tooth out with fire. You wince as you chew a piece of bread. You can barely bite into it now. Even the air feels sharp inside your mouth. You find yourself holding your jaw like a cracked vase, cradling it gently, as if touch could undo the pain. And then, with growing dread, you realize you need help. You need a dentist. You laugh quietly, bitterly. Because you know what that means here. There is no gentle reclining chair, no peppermint rinse, no Novocaine, no polished instruments laid out neatly on a sanitized tray, no soft music, no kind voice saying you might feel a pinch. No, There is only a man with pliers, and a strong arm, and a bucket nearby for blood. You ask around. The word spreads faster than you'd hoped. A toothache is entertainment in a village like this. You're pointed toward the blacksmith, not because he's a dentist, because he's the one with tools. You find him near his forge, shirtless, glistening with soot and sweat, sharpening something that may once have been tongs. He looks at you, then at your jaw, then back at his fire. Sit. You hesitate. Sit. You do. There is no numbing. There is no preparation. There is only pain. He grips your head with one hand, and with the other, he reaches for a tool that is far too large and far too dull for what's about to happen. You try to explain you just want a checkup, maybe something herbal, maybe rest. He doesn't listen, because in this time, pain is the only diagnosis and removal is the only cure. You flinch. He scowls. Hold still. Unless you want worse, he says. And then it begins. The sound is worse than the feeling. A crunch, a pop, a squelch that echoes in your ears like thunder underwater. The tool slips. He readjusts. Your world narrows to a point of light and then blinding darkness. You don't remember screaming, but your throat is raw. When it's over, the tooth is gone. So is part of your pride. And your hope. And probably a piece of your gum that wasn't supposed to come with it. He hands you a cloth. You bite down. It tastes like iron and earth. You stagger outside, blinking against the sunlight. Mouth full of blood. Head full of fog. Someone claps your shoulder. Another offers you something strong to drink, not for celebration, but for shock. You sip and it burns. Good. You ask what would have happened if the tooth couldn't come out. A woman answers softly. Sometimes the bad humors go to the brain. Then they cut a hole in your skull to let the poison out. You stare. It works. She adds. Sometimes. That's trepanning, a real medieval practice. Drilling a hole in your head to cure headaches, seizures, or madness. No anesthesia, just leather straps and prayer. You shiver. Not from the wind, but from something deeper. You think of your own time of clinics and antiseptics and white gloves, of dental floss, of fluoride, and hear people die from an abscess. You lie back on a bench, dizzy and dazed. The world spins slightly. Your tongue finds the gap in your teeth like it already knows something's missing. It throbs, but slowly, ever so slowly, the pain begins to fade. You're alive. You're still here. One tooth lighter, 1 century darker. You've had a long few days. Your body aches. Your jaw still throbs from the tooth ordeal. And you stink. There's no nice way to say it. You smell like straw sweat, pig firewood regret, and a hint of medieval cheese. Your tunic is stiff in places it shouldn't be. You're crusted in layers of mud soot, and possibly something worse. You need a bath. Desperately. So you ask. You mention as politely as you can that you'd like to clean yourself. Wash off. Maybe. Just splash around a little. The silence is immediate. Eyes shift. A spoon pauses midair. Someone mutters a prayer. Then an old man leans in, whispering like it's a state secret. You've been talking to witches, haven't you? You blink. What? He nods. Only witches wash too much. And that's how you learn the uncomfortable truth. Bathing is not only rare here, it's suspicious. In the year 1327, water is for drinking if boiled for feeding animals, for mixing with barley to make ale. But submerging your entire body in it, that's unnatural, risky, possibly dangerous. You're told stories, of people who bathed and fell ill, of how hot water opens the pores and lets the bad humors in. Some claim that excessive cleanliness weakens the body's natural defenses. Others simply believe that dirt protects you, a sort of medieval immune system made of filth. You insist. Just a small bath. Maybe even with soap. Another pause. Soap, a woman asks. You nod. She gasps. You're taken to see a washerwoman, more out of curiosity than kindness. She eyes you like a scholar examining a strange beast. Then she hands you a small, hard lump, brown, cracked, smelling faintly of ashes and fat. This is soap, real medieval soap, made from animal tallow and lye. It burns a little when you hold it too long. You find your way to the riverbank, alone, thankfully. You strip down teeth chattering in the wind. The water looks icy. It is icy. You step in, and you immediately regret every decision that led you here. The cold punches you in the chest. You gasp. You shiver. You curse quietly through chattering teeth. But you lather the soap anyway, though it doesn't really lather. It just smears. Greasy. Grainy. You scrub. Hard. And feel slightly cleaner, until the wind hits your wet skin. You dry off with your cloak because towels don't exist here. Your clothes go back on, still damp in places. Your skin is raw. But you smell slightly less alive. And that's an improvement. You return to the village just as the sun begins to dip. People sniff. They glance. Someone mutters he smells like soap. Another whispers he must be foreign. A third are cursed. That night you lie in your straw bed, cleaner than you've ever been here, and more uncomfortable. Your skin stings. Your reputation may have been damaged. You wonder if anyone will sit next to you tomorrow. You begin to understand something profound. Here, filth isn't just accepted. It's expected. It's part of survival. And maybe in some strange way, even part of identity. So you curl up itchy in a new way now, unsure if it's from the soap or the suspicion. And you promise yourself tomorrow you will try a little less hard to be clean. You just want to blend in. You just want to belong, even if that means learning to love the dirt. Sunday arrives without ceremony. There's no alarm clock, no calendar reminder, no cheerful voice saying, "Happy Sunday." Only the deep, bone-shaking toll of the church bell dragging itself through the morning mist like a command from the heavens. It doesn't ask if you want to come. It doesn't care if you're tired. You go. You rub your eyes and sit up in your straw bed, still sore from the cold bath, the tooth pulling the everything. Outside, the village is moving slower than usual, more somber. People are dressed in their least-torn tunics, hair tucked under coifs and caps. Children clean to little faces, serious. There's a strange kind of stillness in the air. Not peace. Something closer to expectation. You follow the crowd to the church, a squat stone building that looks older than time itself. Ivy clings to the walls. The wooden door creaks like it hasn't opened without protest in centuries. Inside, it's dark. Cold. The windows are thin slices of cloudy glass, filtering light into faint rays. There are no pews. People stand, or kneel, on cold stone. You do the same, because everyone is watching. The priest enters draped in robes that look more like faded curtains. He doesn't smile. He doesn't welcome. He raises his hand, and the room hushes as if the air itself holds its breath. He speaks, not in English, not even in Middle English, but in Latin. You understand nothing, but that's the point. the mystery, the majesty, the fear. You glance around and realize something unsettling no one else understands either. They listen not for meaning, but for rhythm, for power, for order. Because in this time, religion is not comfort. It is structure. It tells you where you belong, what to do, who to obey, and what happens if you don't. You hear snippets that feel familiar. Sin, hellfire, obedience, punishment. The priest's voice rises and falls like waves against a cliff. At times, he nearly shouts. You flinch. At one point, a man near the back coughs. The priest pauses. The silence is chilling. When the sermon ends, it isn't with applause or conversation. It ends with kneeling, prayer, and the heavy weight of guilt. You follow the others outside into the light blinking. You've been in there for almost 2 hours, maybe more. No music, no coffee afterward. Just a head full of warnings and a sense that someone somewhere has been watching you very closely. Afterward, the townspeople walk quietly, not joyfully. Sunday isn't a day of rest here. It's a day of judgment. Later, you ask someone about the service. They shrug. We go, or we're punished. You ask by whom, they pause. By God, or by the Lord's men. Either way, it hurts. You learn of punishments being pilloried in the square for missing Mass. Fines. Whispers of witchcraft. A spiritual life isn't optional. It's expected. And it's not about personal belief. It's about compliance. You begin to understand faith here is like fire. It can warm you, but get too close or question too much, and it burns. You retreat to your hut, head spinning, ears still echoing with foreign chants. You sit in the quiet and realize something strange, though you didn't understand the words you feel. Smaller now. Like someone just reminded you how insignificant you really are. The sky begins to darken. Sunday ends not with family dinner or quiet relaxation, but with a return to labor. The brief stillness has passed. Tomorrow will be muddy again. Your hands will ache again, and your soul apparently must be watched always. You lie back on the straw. You try to pray, but all you can think is, how do they sleep with all that fear? It begins with a stare. Not yours, his. You're standing near the well, wiping dirt from your hands, when a man across the square looks at you too long. You nod politely. He does not nod back. He turns, muttering something under his breath to the woman beside him. An hour later, 2 men arrive. Not in armor, just thick leather coats and hard eyes. They don't shout. They don't explain. They simply grab you by the arms and say, "Come with us." You don't resist because you've learned. In this world, resistance is guilt. Silence is guilt. Breathing funny. Guilt. They take you to the manor house, the seat of local power. Not much to look at. Stone, dark wood, the scent of damp parchment, and sweat. You're pushed into a room that feels colder than the wind outside. There at a table sits a man with thin lips and ink-stained fingers. He's the bailiff, the judge, and the interrogator all in one. He doesn't look up. Your name, you answer. He scribbles. Are you a thief? No. Are you a liar? No. Are you from here? You hesitate. And that dear soul is mistake number 1. He looks up now, eyes narrow. You hesitated. You try to explain that you're just passing through, that you're not part of any trouble, that you have no reason to steal, to cheat, to harm, but it doesn't matter. because someone saw you looking at a married woman too long. Or maybe you said something strange in your sleep. Or perhaps your clothes are just too clean, your manners too refined, your story too odd. You're not being accused, you're being processed. You're taken to another room, a dark one. There's no table, no chairs, just tools. Metal, rope, a bench with leather straps. You begin to understand. Here they don't find the truth. They squeeze it out. A man enters with soot on his face and no name. He doesn't speak to you. He doesn't need to. He ties your wrists. Slowly, almost gently, the bailiff returns. Tell us what you did. You say nothing. He nods. Then you won't mind a little persuasion. The first time it's the rack. You're stretched. Your joints pop like knuckles cracking in a monstrous rhythm. You scream, of course you do. They nod, satisfied. Now we're making progress. You cry didn't do anything, and the man with the rope says, "We believe you." But he doesn't stop. Later, they ask again. Were you sent here by a rival village? Are you a sorcerer? Do you consort with demons? You say no. Again. They tighten the screws on your thumbs. Your world becomes pain. Sharp, total, inescapable. And then like clouds parting after a storm, it stops. They look at each other, murmur, then unlock the straps. You collapse to the floor. You may go. The bailiff says. Your ears ring. That's it. No verdict. No formal charges, no apology. Just dismissal, because they didn't want the truth. They wanted to show you who held power. And now they have. You limp back to your hut. Arms, sore skin, bruised faith, shattered. No one meets your eyes. They know where you've been. They've all been there, or close. Everyone walks a narrow line here between obedience and accusation, and the line keeps moving. You lie down that night not in fear of monsters, or hunger, or cold, though they're still there. You lie in fear of being seen too clearly, or not enough, or not. Because in the Middle Ages, justice isn't blind. It watches everything. And when it blinks, you pay. You're quiet now. Quieter than you've ever been after the interrogation. The bruises. The endless eyes watching you from every direction. You've learned one simple truth. Do not stand out. But it's harder than you thought, because everything about you does stand out. You speak too clearly. You walk differently. You ask questions. You flinch at things they endure without thought. You know things you shouldn't like, how fire burns oxygen, or how infection spreads, or that stars are suns, not holes in the sky. You didn't mean to say that last part out loud, but you did. And the old man who heard you hasn't spoken to you since. You notice it more now. Whispers in corners. Eyes that don't meet yours. Children pulled behind mothers. People making the sign of the cross as you pass. You've seen fewer smiles, fewer words, more space around you. You try to blend in. You stop speaking. You eat quietly. You walk slower. You nod at everything. And still, it's not enough. One afternoon, a small child stares at you while you peel onions by the barn. Her voice is soft, curious. You talk to the cat. She says. You blink. What? The black one. It follows you. That's your spirit animal, isn't it? You freeze. Someone else hears her. Then someone else. And just like that, the word witch enters the room. It isn't shouted. Not yet. It doesn't have to be. It settles into the cracks of the village like smoke, invisible at first, then choking. You try to laugh it off. I like cats, you say. They keep mice away. but the damage is done. In this world, logic is the enemy of comfort. You suddenly remember the laws against witchcraft are not myths. They are real and terrifying. You remember stories of women drowned to test their purity. If they floated, they were witches. If they sank and died, they were innocent. Of herbalists burned at the stake for curing a fever. Of midwives condemned for birthing too many healthy babies. You try to breathe slowly. You return to your hut. You stay indoors. You pretend to be sick easier now, since your throat still aches and your jaw hasn't quite healed. But they don't forget. The next morning you wake to find a doll outside your door. Crude, stuffed with straw. A tiny face drawn in ash. Its arms are bound with twine. You don't touch it. Someone has marked you. A warning or a promise. The black cat is gone. You feel its absence like a shadow that's been peeled away. At night you hear a chant in the distance. A fire crackles far beyond the trees. You don't ask who it's for. You just lie there, staring at the wooden beams above you, heart pounding so slowly, it feels louder than your breath. You realize that in this place, wonder is a threat. Curiosity is dangerous, and silence is your only shield. So you close your eyes. You fold into yourself, and you vanish not from the world, but from their sight. Because here in the Middle Ages, the difference between a dreamer and a witch is only how many people are looking when you speak. The day begins as any other. Gray skies, muddy paths, coughs in the distance, a woman calling after her goat. You're sweeping straw from your doorway just to feel like you're doing something. Your body still hurts in quiet places, but your hands are stronger now. Your silence sharper. You're learning to blend in until the bell tolls, not the church bell, a different bell. Low, repeating. 4 times. Then a pause. Then 4 more. You look up. People freeze. They don't speak. A man sets down a basket and closes his door without a word. A girl grabs her brother's hand and walks swiftly the other way. You ask anyone what it means. Death bell, a woman says softly. Someone's gone. It should be no surprise. Not here. Not in this world, where medicine is hope, not help. Where any fever could become fire. Where a simple cut can swell, fester, and end you. Still, it shakes you. You follow the slow-moving procession out to the field behind the village. There, a hole has already been dug. No casket, just a bundle wrapped in cloth. The priest recites verses over it, but even he sounds tired. Another. Just another. You find out later it was a girl. 15. She scraped her leg while chasing a chicken. It got infected. Within 2 days, she was gone. You want to cry, but no one else does. There's too much to do. Too many still alive. And so the earth swallows her, like it's always hungry. You sit on a stump long after the others have left. The wind smells of rain and soil. You feel it in your bones, the truth. In this world, death is not an event. It is a presence. You remember the stories you heard even before you arrived here. Of the Black Death. Of bodies carted away by the dozens. Of red crosses on doors. Of masks with beaks filled with herbs. Of ships arriving empty. You are lucky someone says that it is not that time. But even without plague, death walks here with muddy boots and a familiar face. You think of war of rumors passed from traveler to traveler, of a border dispute, a lord raising taxes, a distant army moving. It doesn't take much. A king's whim, a nobleman's insult. And suddenly, your village is smoke and bones. You think of famine. One bad season, A failed harvest, rats, spoiled grain, and children shrink before your eyes. You think of accidents, simple ones, a fall from a ladder, a branch breaking, a cow kicking the wrong way, a pot tipping into the fire, and you realize death doesn't need a reason here. It just needs an opening. You return to your hut that night more slowly than usual. Every creak of wood beneath your feet feels louder. Every heartbeat feels less certain. You lie down on the straw. You pull the blanket over your chest. And for the first time you whisper a prayer. Not because you believe, but because you're scared. And here, that's enough. You lie awake long after the village sleeps. The fire has burned to embers. The candle has melted to a puddle of wax. The air is cold, as it always is. But tonight, it feels different. You listen. The wind outside is softer. The silence less oppressive. Even the old roof above your head doesn't creak as much. You stare at the ceiling for a long time, watching shadows drift like slow ghosts. Your thoughts wander. You've survived more than you thought you could. The straw bed, the tooth, the interrogations, the hunger, the cold, the fear. You've bent to this world's rules. You've swallowed its dirt and dread. But you've also seen its strange beauty, a child's laughter by the well, the golden glow of afternoon sun on stone walls, the quiet hush of 1,000 unspoken prayers. You've learned to walk differently, to speak less, to carry pain like a pouch at your side. And still, you don't belong here. You miss softness, warm water, a clean pillow, a window that closes, the quiet hum of distant electricity, the smell of soap, the sound of your own name said without suspicion. Your body aches with the weight of a century not meant for you. So tonight you don't reach for sleep. You wait. You wait for something. A door, a whisper, a crack in the world. And when it comes, it's not loud, not a storm, not a spell, not even a choice. It's a breath, just one. You close your eyes, you inhale, you exhale. And when you open your eyes again, you're back. Your ceiling fan spins lazily above you. The blankets are soft. The air smells faintly of fabric softener and morning light. Your phone buzzes somewhere on the nightstand. Outside, a car drives past. The world hums. You sit up slowly. Everything is exactly as it was. And yet, nothing feels the same. You wiggle your fingers. You stretch your back. You walk barefoot to the bathroom and turn on the tap. Water flows. Instantly. Clean. Warm. You wash your face and cry a little. Quiet, surprised tears. You are home, but a part of you isn't. A part of you will always know what it's like to cough in the dark, to be accused for a glance, to fear a fever, to bury someone with your hands. And maybe that's the gift, or the lesson, to know what you have. Because now, you remember what it's like to lose it. You make tea. You sit in silence. And the sun rises gently, kindly, without the weight of a tolling bell. You are safe. You are clean. You are free. And for the first time in days, or perhaps centuries, you truly rest. The end.